Hello and welcome back to the Alutaguse Open Baltic Disc Golf Championship presented by Innova Champion Discs. We have our first day back nine coming up.
With some good weather on the card. Got a good mix of some sunshine, some clouds, a couple of raindrops, a little bit of everything, but great disc golf conditions. Very little wind, which is important on this course.
Mauri Villmann with a score of -5 after the first nine. Close to the one he got in 2023. It was -6 with a total of 18. This is time half of it and close to -6, so -5. Markus Saarepuu with a -3 at this point after the first nine. Unfortunate result for Allain-Marco Anton with a score of +14 with a septuple bogey on the last on the ninth one, and -4 for Mathias Villota.
And we've got the back nine coming our way, which is where you can start putting a lot more birdies together if you've got the confidence on your side to attack these greens. Starting right here with hole 10, which the triple Mando, nice approachable distance at 88 meters, but putting a wall in the way with a gap you have to get through can test the nerves a little bit. This is probably going to be a good, firm putter or nice smooth mid-range shot for most everybody on the card here.
And this seems beautifully under the basket. Oh.
Yeah, great line to attack. Throw something stable out towards that right side and just let it fade right through the gap. Excellent shot.
I usually end up in front of the bear on the left side. Right there.
And we're seeing Mauri go with a little more of a true hyzer approach, trying to kind of let it fade down into the gap, which would set up for a longer putt, but maybe more consistently getting through the gap with that route. There's a nice straight little hyzer play. Really, if you can get into the circle, you make it through the gap and give yourself a putt, that's great. Any chance to attack here. It's just trying to make sure we're not taking penalty strokes on this hole.
And that seems very good as well. Slight skip at the end, at least got through the Mando gate.
So out at around 13, 14 meters there. Yeah, he's probably a little disappointed not to get that through the opening and set up a birdie. This is another one that you're looking at that you'd really kind of draw up as a birdie chance on paper.
Oof. Wow. Oh, and that is not a roll you want to have. Thankfully, didn't go that far, and an unlucky putt there to the edge of the basket. Yeah, thankfully got the par.
Good comebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like the birdie putt was nearly perfect. Just need a little extra spin off the fingertips to get to the chains. Nice smooth putt for birdie. Well done there, Markus. And Mathias is keeping the hot streak going into the back nine here. Taking the tee box, setting himself up for a good little run here to close it out. And you can see the flag barely moving. Now this is my first time coming to this course, but from what I'm hearing, wind is very common here, so we were very fortunate to have low wind conditions. And
usually it is either really windy, scorching hot, or wet. So none of these at the same time seems to be a rare occasion. So we did have a bit of a rain-ish feeling in the morning, but this part 3 now, 105 meters through the trees, slightly uphill and then down back hill. Good shot here from Markus.
Yeah, this is a tricky little drive, throwing up and over the hill and then having to get that nose down to drop down the hill. I think seeing that fade out at the end of the flight is going to be very, very common, just because you have to keep it up high enough to get over the hill before you go down. Of course, all the trees that are keeping you from throwing your exact line that you'd like to make it all the more tricky. And really, that's a great result. To be down into the flat and just at the edge of the circle, you're very happy with that. Like something with a little bit of understability here, so that as soon as you get up and over to the hill, it's going to start dropping down.
That's also near perfect, I think, from my, oh yeah, the guardian trees are the ones that are gonna ruin your line at one point. You do have a bit of a gap there on the left side, as you can see from the basket, on the right side on this one, from coming from the tee pad, but the trees do get you blocked more often than not.
Yeah, I think the height control is really the most important factor here. You kind of want that drive to just barely crest the hillside so that it's staying low to the ground as it drops down. So he's putting downhill at this elevated basket and gives it a good run. All right, so this is a good 17, 18 meter look here. Can be pretty aggressive. No danger of rollaways or anything here, so see some good long bids. And that was a little bit of a shank putt.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, that looks like just forcing the timing a little bit. Again, as you're struggling through the round, it's really tough to have a smooth, fluid swing. So he was just a little late on the pop of that putt. Pulled it right. No damage done, though. That's a great putt there for birdie. Matthias has got the putter really dialed in this round.
Like you said, in the front of first nine, it would be most likely that we're going to see far circle edge putts, and that was one of them. Beautiful circle edge putts. Par here for Markus and Mauri, and also Allain-Marco.
And back to the open for hole 12. Out to the long grass. Very long par 3 at 140 meters. Fairway kind of dips down to a valley, but then climbs back up the hill to the green. So you're basically throwing flat level from tee pad to the basket. 140 meter pump, and you kind of have some options on your line. Pick which side of the trees you want to go down. I think this turnover line is your attacking line.
Yeah, I want to go over the first tree, the other side of the little apple tree there, and end up next to the basket, or close to it, as you can see this from Matthias.
With OB in play here, that turnover line to get to the birdie takes some really good control. Now we're seeing that kind of hyzer line, which now you're having to split these trees, which that worked through very nicely. Brings the OB close into play, and unfortunately looks like he does stay out to the right of the stake. Okay, so Mauri looks like he's setting that turnover line up.
Yeah, same as Matthias did. I think this one is even better than oof.
I would say so.
Oh boy.
Very good angle control there. That 140 meters just looks like he barely swung his arm through, but got so much spin on the disc that it just kept carrying and got his angle just perfect. That was an excellent shot from Mauri.
You can see actually from Allain-Marco here, he does. You can see a bit of frustration. He does have at the end of the stroke some additional power that he's giving or something. So you see he's trying to force it a little bit, and that sometimes does give you unfortunate results. As you can see from here, it didn't go over as much as he probably expected, and ended up next to the trees on the left side here.
Yeah, I think that's very understandable when you're struggling through a round and you're on camera and it's your home course. Very, very tough to stay composed when the round isn't going your way. So, if he can have a little pep talk with himself, go back to saying, hey, you're a good golfer, you belong on this card, just go back to throwing the disc and get your timing back. He can still get some good shots here and get some good momentum going into the next round. even though this one isn't really falling into shape the way he was hoping, I'm sure. And there we see that excellent birdie from Mauri after that great drive. This one does feel a bit like a bonus birdie, so good to get that one.
Disc sport and Innova share the same values and understanding how the sport should grow.
Rene has always been a great partner of Innova. His vision of disc golf in Estonia and the Baltic region is exactly what we're looking for.
Our goal would be to grow the sport, grow the brand, so that eventually, in the long run, Innova will be number one in Europe again.
Hole number 13, 100 meters onto the island here. A bit of a interesting shaped island. Ideally you want to go straight on because it is slightly downhill and end up next to the baskets, but there is also a possibility to go hyzer line over the right side and forehand line over the left side, which Mauri is gonna, now he's gonna go straight down, try to force the disc to drop, and keeps it on the island nicely.
Good body English there to talk to the disc halfway through its flight.
Yeah, you do have a risk of going too much to the right side and finding yourself in OB. Might is gonna, it seems like it's gonna try for the hyzer line over the trees on the right. That's exactly what it's gonna do. And it seems to be working out nicely.
Yeah, that's a tricky line there, actually. I didn't expect to see the hyzer gap used very much. Obviously, he threw it in practice and had some good success and went right back to that well and got himself a nice little bullseye birdie. This straight line shot is definitely a good choice to attack. It does put a little more
risk here, and this is...
Looks like he's got some...
Thankfully... Oh.
Wow, I was about to say that looked like it was still in bounds, but...
Yeah, it did look like it, but sadly, no.
Angles can be everything, and here comes another hyzer line. Okay. I'm learning. Very overstable disc. Gets it up in the air and just lets the left edge drop down. Unfortunately, didn't get it wide enough. So we got a couple of drop zone putts coming our way. If you don't make it on the island, it's straight to the drop zone. That was a good attack. Nice bid from, this is about 15, 16 meter putt from here. So very makeable, but still a tough par safe to get after you go out of bounds.
No risk here for Markus, just get it under the basket, get it in. Sadly go away with the bogey, but that's part of the game sometimes. And a beautiful birdie here from Mauri.
The putting saves again. Wasn't happy with the drive. You can see his reaction there to have even put that into danger. And an unfortunate miss on the comeback putt for Allain-Marco. Yeah, we saw Mauri a little frustrated with himself even after making a good putt, just because he knows he shouldn't have to putt from that far away. A hole like this, you want to put it close to that bullseye every single time.
So a bogey for Markus and sadly a double bogey for Allain-Marco. But still 2 days of disc golf to come, so chance to fix it. Number 14, par 3, 132 meters. Start to go down the hill at the start, next to these rocks and the beautiful basket in the middle of it. So you can see the circle, thanks to the rocks. No need to put the lines down there with yourself. Ideally, you want to be on the circle after the first throw, and you do have a OB line on the right side, so no need to go very unstable here. But since it is open field, you do get wind here sometimes, not today thankfully, and it might lead you to the OB on the right. Good job here from Mauri to get it onto the circle.
Yeah, we got OB on both sides here, so even though it is very wide open, there's no trees forcing a line. Like you said, drop in elevation and the potential for the disc to get blown around once you let go of it. Still takes a very precise angle. Getting into the green here is a very good shot at this distance. So well done by Mauri. That's pin high, just a little out to the right for Mathias there. Tough to attack it. He's going to have the OB line pretty much right, in play behind the basket if he was trying to get aggressive on his putt from that range. And so this is a play, that nice straight flat release, and then let the stability of the disc just fall down to the left. Good way to attack if your distance is just right. Looks like we've got a good look for birdie for Markus there.
You can see actually from the basket, there's a flag on top of the basket. There's a bit of a wind down next to the basket, so you need to take that into consideration when you're throwing. A good throw here from Allain-Marco. That is good. After all those OBs and unfortunate throws, it's good to see him next to the basket after the first.
Yeah, that was a great drive. Good low-driven hyzer angle. Let the disc flip up. That looked like a very confident swing. So, yep, getting back to just plain golf mode now. Let's drill this putt.
Ooh.
Yeah, good height, good pace. Looks like just trickled off a little bit left of the chains, but gave it a good, solid approach. And that's a really nice birdie. That one's going to feel good to get there for Mauri.
Nice birdie here for Markus as well. And that was also an unfortunate skip off from the lower edge of the basket and the top rim of the basket. Very, very unexpected bogey here from Allain-Marco and simple par for Mathias.
Yeah, it was just a lapse of focus there.
Yeah.
You could see he didn't really go through his routine. Again, being frustrated with the round. He's just trying to get the disc out of his hand and let it be somebody else's turn. But at that point, you still got to focus up on those short putts and make sure they get in. And we're going into
222 meters for par 4. Straight off the tee, you have trees in front of it, so it's going to be a bit of a guardian, and you have a hyzer here from the rocks to the Alutaguse sign here, basket after that, and you do have OBs everywhere at the back, at the right, at the left. So you do need to be precise on the shots, but first off, you got to be making sure that you do get through those 4 guardian trees. They don't look like much, but trust me, when you hit them, you do hit them.
Yeah, and that's what I was curious to see. That wide line is by far the biggest gap. So playing the hyzer out, just getting over that little small group of bushes. Good attacking, and now we saw the rock line between the rock and the wall close to the green is all hazard. So you really do have to make a decision on how aggressive you want to get. And another good wide line here. This is probably going to be the preferred play for most people. It really brings this group of trees, bushes into play.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate shot there from Markus. I think he didn't want to end up under those trees there.
But he's going to really have to make a decision now. Can he get aggressive from the lie he has, or is he just going to have to play it up short of the rocks and then up to the green for his par? It's very tempting to try to get aggressive and salvage that birdie opportunity, but that's where the big numbers start coming in. So we see all 4 players using that nice wide gap on the right and playing the hyzer. And looks like that's out in a nice open spot to be able to attack if he wants it.
Yeah, so very good shots from Mauri, Mathias, and also from Allain-Marco. Unfortunate lie there for Markus, but we'll see how unfortunate it is and if he can manage to do something from there. So Allain-Marco is going to go and try to push the line.
Ooh, did that skip under the sign, it looked like?
Did it?
I believe so.
Yeah, let's see.
Comes up just short and goes under the sign.
That is nice.
That's the break you're hoping to get right there. Yeah, this is a really tough green to attack because we've got the shape of that hillside. Anything right of the basket from the vantage point of the players, it drops down to the right pretty severely. So if you're throwing a hyzer angle in, you've got to be hitting the exact right spot on this hill. or else you could be looking at a skip away to the left, or this is hanging out to the right, and we're going to see it stays down below, but no roll potential, so he'll be happy to have that putt for birdie. And Mauri leaning on his trusty sidearm. Now we see the wind coming into play.
Yes, we can see that now. Markus didn't go trying here. He just had an unfortunate spot from where to throw it next to the rocks here, just to have a comfortable throw next over the hazard line.
That's smart golf.
Yeah.
Yep. He didn't have the positioning to attack, so he's just playing the smart play, taking his par. And after the very fortunate break to get under the sign there, we had a nice long bid from Allain-Marco. And Mauri with the no doubt putt, that clean spin putt, starts just at the right side of the chains and hits the heart.
Uphill putt here for Mathias. And manages to get it in nicely.
I like seeing the different putting styles between our card leaders here, between Mauri's firm, crisp spin putt, and then Mathias has his kind of high, lofty pitch putt style, both working very effectively for these guys. And yeah, we could see the wind starting to pick up a little bit on that hole into this long par 5 hole where the drive is so open. Wind can be a real factor here on placement, because if you're not landing in the right spot, it can change the hole completely. And this is the right spot right now. If you can be up at the top of the hill on that little road, just past the short pin there on the left, and now we got to traverse through the trees onto a very tricky little green. This it's up on a platform with this invisible gap in between that's going to swallow up some discs if you're a little bit short. Down below there, very tough to get a putt. So very precise type of shot to attack. You really have to have a good game plan going into this hole on how you're going to position yourself. And looks like Mauri's trying to play for almost at the bottom of the hill, which is still just fine as long as you have the opening to throw up the hill from there. And a similar game plan from Mathias. That's going to be a pinched angle. He's not stoked with the position he's in.
Not the best one. I'm surprised actually they go sidearm. I would have expected them to go backhand, understable, and have a bit of an S to the tunnel there.
Yeah, I think this is all strategy, and these guys are probably chatting with each other after their practice round on what are you doing on hole 16? Well, got into trouble by being aggressive. I think it's just a good decision on where they want placement. But it can be frustrating when you're taking the safe shot and don't execute it just how you want to. Now you still have to scramble. And that was close to a perfect line from Allain-Marco there, but just turned it a little bit too much and caught some tree. Still in a good position. He can still work his way up the middle of the fairway from there. That's a good swing on that one.
Beautiful. It would have been better to go maybe slightly more stable to get the get a bit more distance. I think he would have had more distance, but I think regardless of everything, it's still a very, very good shot from him.
And that's a very tough position to try to get to a good landing spot.
That's why I'm thinking, why did they go sidearm? Because it doesn't seem like a comfortable second throw from there.
Well, yeah, sidearm was not intended to get to that spot. It does set up a tricky angle here, having to flex an Anheuser forehand into the gap. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust their game plan in the next couple rounds, too, based on that. Mauri's fought through the trees a little bit, so he's up to the hillside with a little more open space.
You can hear the wind blowing up here, so the fact that they get between the trees, so it's less windy there, but they do come back for the 17 and 18 to open field, so it's going to be a factor.
Yeah, Mauri had a really nicely controlled turnover forehand shot and got over the next little hillside, so he's potentially going to be seeing the basket here, but still very tough to find a great line. That forehand ante seems to be the play for a lot of these shots here, just trying to shape it through the trees and keep it to the left. Wow, and Allain-Marco got way up there on his shot, staring straight at the basket. That's pretty tough to do after 2.
Yeah, it didn't seem that far at the start, but it was a good shot. At least a good line now for the basket. It needs to be wary of the drop after the basket because the edge is quite close, so a little mistake could ruin a lot. Sidearms well here for Markus.
This green really is tricky, and if you're trying to be aggressive to the green from far out, it's pretty much going to take some luck to hit it. Where Mauri got to on his second shot here, he can throw a slow disc with a little more touch and focus on the landing, and that is very well executed.
That is beautiful. That's basically a tap-in right there.
All right, we see how high Mathias is looking here from down below, trying to get this thing up the hillside. Yeah, good speed on that. Don't think he was really trying to give it a bid, just focusing on landing it in the right spot.
Same tactic thing for Markus here, just to get it under the basket and make sure you get the get the disc in after. I mean, with the next one, seems to be similar play here for everyone else besides Mauri, who is definitely going to go for a birdie here.
Yeah, this is another one I think is kind of a bonus birdie because tough to attack the green aggressively or the basket aggressively if you're not in a really good spot. I think that layup to a tap in, take your par, there is no shame in that. You can always attack it harder tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, 2 days to go, so it's there's a lot of mistakes you can fix. On to 17, 118 meters. You start from the trees. You do have an open line after the trees, OB line in the center of it. Ideally, you want to go either sidearm across the 16th hole or backhand across the field here over the OB line. Usually people go over the field over the OB line, but I prefer going sidearm. Yeah,
the backhand gap is a little intimidating off the tee. You do have to put it through a pretty small window. The height difference is really the big thing. This has got to be a nose down release either way.
So sidearm over the 16th to the basket here for Mauri, and beautifully done. That is.
That's an effective tool to have the trust in your sidearm to just put it on a hyzer and know it's going to swing back. He's got a top tier forehand, so I'm sure he's happy to lean on that there. Now we see the backhand line coming into play. If, a little bit late on the swing from Mathias, pulls it a hair to the right.
Yeah, that's the risk for the backhand. You need to be precise because the gap there is quite small, and even the slightest hit could ruin. Slightest hit to the trees could ruin everything. Sidearm as well here for Markus, and similar to Mauri, a pretty decent one. Bit more distance than Mauri, but still puttable.
Yeah, he's got a little longer putt. It looks like the wind just kind of knocked him down because his throw was a little bit higher. And leaning on that safe forehand line. It does take a lot of power to get the forehand all the way to the pin. I think that's a pretty common spot to hit just in front of the circle. So yeah, Mauri pushing through the wind with his sidearm and getting close to the basket is top level. Now Mathias has a lot of work here to scramble for a par. Throwing from that hillside and not really having a step into, that's well done to get pin high. You still got to work for that par putt.
Yeah, thankfully didn't go OB, so close to the edge, but thankfully no OB. Oh, Markus is this far. It seemed at the start seemed a bit closer to the basket, but still birdable for him.
Once again, when he lets go of it, he knows it's going in. He was already stepping to it. Good confident stroke. He likes that 11, 12 meter range.
Ooh, the sound that no one wants to hear.
And what a good bid. That would have been a good one to get. Got to pick that birdie up. I know Allain-Marco has been pushing to get that green number onto the scorecard here. gave it a really good bid, just a bit high. And Matthias pulls his putt just a hair. Would have been a great scramble par from where he was, but unfortunately he will take the bogey there.
So par for Allain-Marco, a unfortunate bogey for Matthias.
And Mauri left with just right on the edge of the bullseye there. Nice little tap in for birdie. And what a streak he's putting together here. 6 in a row going into the final hole for Mauri.
Yeah. You can see from the flag here, the wind is picking up, and which is going to be a factor on the 18th. The 18th one is the legendary top of the hill, down to the clubhouse there.
And look at that view. Standing at the tee pad and staring across that. This is a signature hole. What a cool way to finish out a round of disc golf.
So the OB line goes from the asphalt road over here and the field on the right side. Ideally you want to be either on the corner after the drop zone or straight under the basket, which is also a possibility.
It's a par 4, but it's very reachable from the tee. Your big drop in elevation, every player on this card can reach this basket. It's just a matter of how much risk do you want to put into it. It is pretty safe to go for the kind of the shorter play and pitch up to the green, but I think some of these eyes are going to be looking towards the basket and see if they can give themselves a chance for eagle. That had quite a bit of hyzer on it. Looks like it's got to flatten out, which it does quite nicely. Not quite as flat as it needed to be to carry all the way, but good to be inbounds up there. Kind of guarded from the tree, so I don't think he's going to have too good of a look for the eagle putt, but very good drive to be up there and inbounds.
Most likely birdie guaranteed.
Yes.
Markus here is going similarly a bit too high and hopefully stays inbounds. No, it's a massive skip from the asphalt, and that is out of bounds.
Yeah, I think that was the wind factor coming into play. Maybe the nose was just a little too high and the wind got underneath and lifted that disc. Definitely wasn't trying to throw it that high. So he'll be going to the drop zone. Allain-Marco puts a nice pull onto that. Again, that power hyzer flip. Let the disc carry all the way down.
Fortunate touch here from the tree, but thankfully still inbounds. No risk for an OB.
Yep, cost him some distance, but still in good safe spot. He can still pitch that up there, get his birdie to finish out the round.
And Matthias here goes as well, similarly over the asphalt, over the right side, and on to the middle of the fairway.
Yes, white flag is good. You got a white flag for inbounds, red flag for out, so everybody getting the good flag there. And here's our drop zone. This is a very tricky drop zone shot. The tree that's right in the middle there is going to force you to either this hyzer line, which has to swing back left pretty hard.
And this one didn't.
Unfortunately, that one did not come back in bounds, so he's going to go to the spot where he went out of bounds and play from there. Very tricky spot to scramble from, so very important to keep the drive in bounds.
That was an unfortunate approach here from Allain-Marco. I think he didn't want this to happen at all. It's a bit too deep under the trees, so it might be uncomfortable to get the birdie.
Yep, good pitch up from there after the penalty. Just get it up into the bullseye. And I'm interested to see how the strategy is going to change. In the first round, you're probably not trying anything too crazy. Rounds 2 and 3, we may see some more aggressive drives. And Mauri choosing to just take his easy birdie. He could have given that eagle a bit if he wanted to, but again, round 1, you don't need to try anything too crazy. You just want to put up a good number.
Yeah.
And Allain-Marco had the look. It looked like the tree came into the play there a little bit, and he kind of had to shape that putt. So unfortunately didn't get up and down from his really good drive.
So double bogey for Markus, birdies for Mauri and Matthias, and a par on the last one here for Allain-Marco. A pretty decent lead from Mauri Villmann here now. You can see the scorecards as well in a moment.
Yeah, very solid. 12 under. That's a great score to put up for the first round. He's got some good momentum going in. And I think, again, momentum comes up time and time again because it's very important to keep the confidence on every shot and keep executing. So with a 4-stroke lead going into round 2, I think we're going to see Mauri putting on the gas and Mathias trying to keep up and keep himself in contention.
So lead card is going to be tomorrow, Mauri, Mathias, Kaspar and Sten. So day 2 coming up soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to some more good golf here.